Well, I think first of all would have been the declining polling of the Labour Party in the opinion polls. Uh, in the 2020 election, they did extremely well to get 50%, but their polling was heading down into the low 30s. It was starting to look likely that there would be a change of government at the next election. Jacinda Ardern's preferred prime minister polling was still high, but I think perhaps underlying her decision, and she doesn't really state this outright in her speech today, but underlying it is quite a good deal of polarization and negativity around her. And I think for political reasons, from the point of view of the Labour Party, she may have well decided that it was just time that she moved aside. And she does actually say in her speech today, she talks about the responsibility to know when you're the right person to lead and also when you're not. And so, we can read into that perhaps that she's been thinking maybe it's time, I'm not the right person to lead any longer.
So do you think this was a strategic choice or more of a personal one? And what do you make of the timing of her announcement?
Yeah, well, the timing is good in the sense that the Labour Party is in a caucus retreat at the moment. Beginning of the year, get it over and done with, lead into election year. The election's in October. Certainly, she did say that she is leaving partly for personal reasons. And clearly, she mentioned her daughter, Neve, who's coming up for 5 years old now, and wanting to get married to Clark. So yes, there are personal reasons, but you can imagine also, I think we all know there's been a lot of vitriolic attacks, misogynistic attacks on her, and that must, have its toll to a great degree too, I think. It affects her family too, I'm sure. So there are personal reasons, but yeah, also strategic reasons. She would have been thinking what is best for the Labour Party. She would have talked, I'm sure, in depth with her senior colleagues in the party. So there would be also a lot of strategic thought about what's best for the Labour Party. So from an outsider's point of view, it probably looks crazy that this really amazing leader has stood down as we're looking towards an election. But understanding the polarised nature of New Zealand politics, particularly recently, perhaps suggests that maybe from a strategic political point of view, she's made a good decision.
Well, tell us a bit more about what it means for Labor's strategy in an election year now.
Yes, well, some people are already speculating that Labor's just handed the election to the opposition National Party, and that may be how it works out. That could happen, but it could have happened anyway. So the Jacinda had already signalled late last year a decision to look closely at some controversial policies that Labor had been pushing through. She had also said we need in 2023 to focus very much on the economy, which makes sense, of course. Bearing in mind, though, that early in her prime ministership, she would always say, I put people first before the economy. Now she's saying in 2023, I want to put the economy first. Well, that makes sense because that's what's concerning people at the moment and in this coming year with inflation and so forth. So, so what does this mean for Labor? Well, obviously a change of leader. We don't know who that new leader is going to be. So a refresh of leadership and some refresh of policy direction, realising that they really are up against it in this coming election. So this change may make or break, or it will make or break Labor in the next election.
What has the reaction in New Zealand been to Jacinda Ardern's resignation?
Well, a lot of headlines are using the word bombshell. And I have to say it's been quite an emotional afternoon, I think, for New Zealanders. The emotional reactions have been quite mixed. Of course, many people very, very sad to see her go. There'll be quite a lot of tears, I imagine. But I have to confess that, listening to the Vox Pop reaction on the TV and so forth, quite a number of people saying they're glad to see her go, perhaps in stronger language even than that. So, a mixed reaction, but an emotional day for Kiwis actually, and it'll be a bit of time. It'll take a while for us to process this, and of course, then to think about a new prime minister.
What kind of scorecard do you think she'll receive for her achievements and failures and her policies during her time as leader?
Well, it depends on who you ask, of course, but I think most people internationally will be giving her a very high scorecard. She is very highly regarded internationally. I think the domestic reaction is a bit more mixed because the domestic politics has been complicated and divisive, particularly as we've come out of the COVID-19 pandemic and then into a period of high inflation and interest rates. So a lot of so the scorecard will very much depend on who you ask. I'll give her a high rating personally. But however, I think her legacy, however, when we look back, she will be regarded as one of our greatest prime ministers.
There are interesting parallels with the surprise resignation of John Key in December 2016.
Yes, that's right. So we've been through this kind of thing before. So John Key was, again, a very popular prime minister, but on the centre right in his case, on the National Party. He dropped a bombshell in December 2016 when he said, and literally used the same metaphor that Jacinda used today. This is the interesting, I don't have enough left in the tank. He said virtually the same thing, same metaphor, same bombshell surprise, I'm standing down. And on that occasion in 2016, of course, naturally there was a lot of speculation. Oh, there must be some scandal behind this or something like that. But 6 years later, still no scandal has come to light. And so I think in his case and also in Jacinda Ardern's case, we should just take these great leaders, great Kiwi leaders, at their word on the day that they resign. The reasons that they gave are the reasons that they are resigning for. There's nothing suspicious or there's no conspiracy or scandal in the background. They're telling you the truth. I'm burnt out. There's nothing left in the tank. So really interesting parallels.
Fascinating to talk. Grant, Duncan, thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you.